Welcome to Chapter 9. In this chapter I want to go over the program that I've named Ole Miss. Ole Miss is kind of like what, but it's got a lot more control over the sound and it's not quite as extreme as what, and because of that it can be used to make lots of actually very nice sort of synth sounds. So let me go ahead and step through the presets and I'll show you what it's all about. So this is horn 1, this is piano 1, this is string 1, this is synth 1, we have a synth 2, synth 3, synth 4, synth 5, synth 6, and synth 7. Okay, let's go ahead and jump down to the first preset here, horn 1, and I'm going to go through the DSP that's being used in this particular program. So this is a program that has both an oscillator and a sub-oscillator, and you can activate optionally the sub-oscillator to play along with the oscillator. So that's why there are 4 layers. It actually only uses 2 layers per oscillator. Okay, so let's go to the AUG page here and take a look at this. So first of all, we have a PW mod going into gain. So this is our controllable DC offset. That gets mixed with a shape saw via this X fade block, and then that goes into wrap. And that's the basic meat of the sound. And then, as you can see, layers 3 and 4 are basically just duplicates of layers 1 and 2. The only real difference is here on layer 4, we're pitched down. Or we can be pitched down an octave below the fundamental tone. Okay, so in the next section, then we will go over the sliders and other controls and how you can use them to make sounds. Okay, so let's go over what the sliders do when you're making sounds with Ole Miss. So let me go ahead and zero all the sliders out. I'm starting with preset 1 here. I'm going to make sure SW is off, and bring the mod wheel all the way down. Okay, so first of all, let's go through the first 4 sliders here. So slider A controls the gain of the DC signal that's coming out of the PW mod block. So let's go ahead and turn that up. Okay, now if you remember, there's an X fade block that controls the mix between the signal coming out of the shape saw oscillator and this DC signal, and you control that X fade here on slider B. So with it all the way down, what you're hearing right now, that sort of clicking noise, that's actually just the DC signal going through wrap. And it has sort of this pronounced transient right at the beginning of it. So let's go ahead and bring DC gain down, and we're going to slowly bring in the oscillator. Now notice as I bring in the oscillator, okay, now I'm just mixing these oscillators. I'm not doing anything to pitch. That pitch effect is just something that's being added by the fact that the sawtooth wave is going through wrap. So let me move up the slider. Okay, so you can hear that you have the sound that is now in the audio spectrum, or that's but it's there because as we wrap it around and around and around, we're also raising the pitch. Okay, so slider C controls the wave shape of this oscillator. With it all the way down, we have a sawtooth wave, and with it all the way up, we have a sine wave. So let's bring that up and let's mix in the sine wave. And that's the basic sound of that. And you can do lots of waveforms in between, and a lot like the previous model I was showing you, you can create lots of interesting sorts of glitchy sounds with this. Okay, so slider D controls the pitch of the shape saw oscillator. Okay, and it has a range of 7,200 cents, so it goes from 0 down to minus 7,200 cents. So let's bring up slider D. So you have quite a range on slider D. So let's bring it up about halfway, and we're going to bring this down a bit. Okay, let's go ahead and bring up our DC gain just a bit, right to about here. Okay. So you can see that we can get, this is a much more tame sound than some of the things we've been hearing out of this. Kind of a mellow sawtooth wave. So as we move slider C and change the wave shape, now we have sort of a very clean sine wave. And as you increase the mix of the oscillator relative to the DC signal, you'll get more of the effect of rap. And as you raise the DC gain, you'll also get much more of the effect. And so using this combination or combinations of these 4 sliders, you can get a huge variety of different wave shapes. Okay, so slider E controls the pitch of the second oscillator. I refer to it as a sub-oscillator, but really it's more like a second oscillator. With slider E all the way down, both of the oscillators are in tune. So off and then on. Now you can play a little bit of slider E, and that will detune the oscillators. If you put slider E all the way up, the second oscillator is now pitched an octave above the oscillator that we're playing with. So if we bring this down an octave, you basically can get that oscillator, sub-oscillator sort of effect. Okay, so one of the fun things about the way I have this set up is on the mod wheel here I have vibrato. So let's go ahead and play this sound. Let's take out the first the second oscillator there. So sort of your standard vibrato, right? So let's bring in the second oscillator. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave them at the same pitch by bringing down slider E, and I'm going to play a note and raise this. So the mod wheel is controlling both the depth of the vibrato and the speed of the vibrato. So for instance, if I put it right about here and I start playing notes, you'll hear some very slow sort of movement as I bring it up. It becomes faster. So in this way you can use this not only as vibrato, but as sort of like a chorus control. Almost like a cheap, vast chorus control, so that you can add some chorusing to the sound that's more than just detuning the oscillators against each other, because now they're being detuned over time, and that's varying according to this LFO that you're controlling with the mod wheel. Okay, so sliders F, G, and H are our envelopes controls. We have attack, we have decay, and release. Okay, and these are very, very much interactive, as you can see. So with lots of release time and a very short decay time, I get a very short release time. As I bring my decay time down to infinite, my release time also gets a lot longer. And then finally, slider I here controls reverb. So let's bring the mod wheel up. Let's change our wave shape just a little bit here. Okay, so that is, in a nutshell, what all the controls do for Ole Miss. And in the next chapter, we are going to discuss the next model in the lineup called Padman.